everybody, welcome to this next episode of Dr. Homebrew. So, this is going to be a little weird because I'm recording in a totally different space than I normally do on a totally different device than I normally do. I'm not getting the smooth baritone that you would normally get when I'm recording on my podcasting setup, but that's okay because today we're talking about very much a physical concept of the game, and so I thought it was important to kind of go to my game space and on my game table here. I'm just playing today. This is just like a normal Chess X kind of blanket or blank stone floor gridded system, because today I want to talk a little bit about fabricating walls and things for building kind of not really three-dimensional, but kind of two-dimensional representations on these things, to go ahead and design alleyways and castles and buildings and stuff like that. And I want to kind of go through my process a little bit because I think that it is really, really easy to get, frankly, inexpensively built walls for your game. And if you play on game maps like this, then this adds a really great level of depth to your game, a little bit of character, a little bit of depth, without really having to go ahead and break the bank for it. The dungeon tiles are great, and they are fantastically built, and they're fun to paint and everything like that. They're also super duper expensive, right? So if you're at all looking for a budget kind of solution, maybe this is something that would work for you. So what I wanted to talk today was about kind of the walls and things that I make. And I have a couple of samples here. So these are just some this is like a wooden print wall that I did, and you can see here basically they're made on foam core and they have little magnets on the bottom. I'm going to talk about that a little bit more here as we go through, but a couple of things. So before we kind of get started, so there are some materials that you're going to want, or at least some things that you're going to want to have access to before you get started. The first one is going to be a printer. It doesn't have to be a laser printer or anything like that. You can also use local copy centers and stuff like that to go ahead and get really good quality. I just did mine on my inkjet. And it will work just fine. I'm also going to, for this video, provide a copy of the templates that I used for these. So these are 1/2-inch wide tiles, so they are for external walls. I have 1/2-inch and 1-inch templates that I'll drop in there. And then basically you can use any number of kind of free picture repositories or even licensed picture repositories. And this is just kind of like a wooden background that I superimposed into that template that I designed on there. And what that template will give you, as if you go take a look at it, is it will give you a variety of lengths of wall in 1 to 8-inch long, and they'll all be 1/2-inch wide. And so it does something if I remember correctly, it's 96 inches or 108 inches or something like that. So it's a pretty significant amount of space. I will say that for most tables and for the games that I run, I normally need 2 or 3 of these sets on hand. But that's where you're going to start. You're going to start with a printer and the template, and then kind of whatever background you want, whatever texture you want for these walls. The second thing you're going to want is access to foam core. Now, foam core, we're not talking about the thick foam core that you would have used for making full terrain setups if you're doing that kind of thing. I'm talking about the super thin adhesive back foam core, and there are 2 types that I use pretty frequently. So the first one, and the one that I honestly use most often, is the kind that comes in a rainbow pack, and you can get it at pretty much any big box store. It's got a couple of advantages for me. For one, the thickness of the individual sheets is pretty good. Although most of the walls that I will use 3 pieces, and that gets me about 1/4 inch of thickness. The big downside is the size. So these pages are 6 by 8.5, give or take. So 2 of them side by side is a little bit bigger than an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper. One of them obviously is about half, right? So but I think it's better quality foam core. I use this a lot more than I use the other stuff I'm going to talk about. So if you don't mind wasting a little bit of paper, this is a pretty great solution, especially if you have any need to go ahead and have it come in multiple colors, right? So you can see here, I've used a lot of the, like the typical colors, like your grays. You can see here that for like my walls, they're wood texture, so I put them on red, or I put them on yellow to go ahead and help me kind of distinguish different floors of a building or different types of, different kind of visual cues that I can go ahead and lay out on there. So that's one really great option if the multicolored is important, and if the little bit of wasted paper isn't a big deal. The other option, and you can get these at Joann's, they are 9 by 12, so they are bigger than your standard piece of paper. The reason why I don't use them very often, so they are probably a better quality foam core, if I'm going to be totally honest, right? But it's thinner. It's way bendier, right? It's way more flexible, right? You can see here, like there's a little bit of give to it. This is very floppy, right? It is probably comparable in price. I think one of these sheets is probably about 80 cents, where a pack of these is about $6. So given kind of like the square footage, it's probably about the same price-wise. What I don't like about this is that it's going to sound really weird to think about it, but the adhesive backing, so this paper here just pulls off, and that's why you can print on it, right? The paper's really, or the adhesive is really sticky, which makes it kind of a pain to work with, at least unless you're filling the entire sheet. Now there are options that you can go ahead and use the entire sheet for, like for example, we have a Cricut. You can print on this directly, which is super nice. So that's always an option, but again, we're trying to do it on the cheap here, so this may not work for what you're doing. Honestly, this thicker, cheaper foam core, again, I think I got this at Walmart, really super effective, and really has kind of become kind of the basis of everything that I do. Then there are some other things that you can do that really kind of help the experience. And the first thing you will see is that on the back of my walls, I talked about this earlier, I've got a little bit of magnetic tape. Now that's something you can buy by the roll at any hardware store, right? It's 1/2 inch wide, which is why I like it, because it's the same size as the walls. And underneath my chess map here is a 2 foot by 3 foot piece of steel that I just got. Again, it's basically for like ductwork and stuff like that. Again, I got it at a hardware store. And so what's nice is that when this is super flat, and my chest X is rolling up a little bit here because it's spent the last 3 years rolled up, but when it's really flat, if you put your walls down, you can feel it kind of click on, and that's not, it's still movable, but it's also very much kind of like, it's going to settle, right? It's going to be where you want it to be, and you're going to have to worry less about kind of it shifting at the table, which I find a really nice kind of benefit. The other really nice benefit to using the metal underneath your chest X map is that at your hardware store, you can also get these guys. Now, these are just like little magnetic markers, and same kind of thing. If you need NPCs, or if you need, some kind of MacGuffin that your party's going after, they also will stick right to there through your chess X map. So it's really nice way to kind of keep everything where you want it to be, right? So, but that's optional. You don't have to go ahead and do that. I do it about half of the time, right? Really kind of depends on what my usage is going to be. So once you get your template, and once you've got your foam core, and once you have printed out your page, basically all that's left is the assembly. And so regardless of kind of which size of foam core you're going to use, you're basically just going to stick it to the back of your printed image, and then using an X-Acto knife, you're going to cut along the lines on the template to go ahead and build the walls. I would also say keep a pair of scissors handy for kind of fine-tuning, because especially cutting through 3 or 4 layers of foam core, your X-Acto knife blade is going to get pretty dull pretty quick. So just be aware that that's going to happen, and some a pair of scissors handy to go ahead and, especially as you're testing it out, like, is this exactly the size that I want? Yeah, so that one's exactly the size that I want. This one is maybe a little bit big, so I would trim. And you can also see, if you look at the very end, you can see how like the magnet is like sticking out past the bottom of the foam core there. So trimming that down and making it really, really nice and square will just help it look a little bit better. And yeah, I've done this with wooden walls, I've done this with stone walls, and I've also done it with like specialty kind of like tokens too, like staircases and stuff like that. Something that I can go ahead and throw on the map as like a visual representation if I need to go up and down stairs or whatever, doors, I've got doors, that kind of thing. So, and really it's just a matter of the image that you put into the template and then the pieces that you put it on. So I've been using these at my home table. I'm really excited about these. They worked really, really well last session. I'm really looking forward to breaking them out again because we're about to go ahead and do kind of a more traditional dungeon crawl for our next session. So they really, they're working out really, really well. So I hope that this works for you. Love to go ahead and hear your comments down below and how you are using or what are your secrets for building your own terrain. What do you build? How do you do it? What's kind of your solution here? So, yeah. Anyway, love to hear from you. Please, as always, like and subscribe this video. That's the best way to go ahead and help us get noticed and help the channel continue to grow. We love all the folks that have been joining us over the last few months. Really, you're the reason that we're doing more video content, so we would love for that community to continue to grow. And as always, if you want to go ahead and find another way to go ahead and help support the show, we'd love for you to visit our Patreon at www.patreon.com/ttjourneys. Tons of benefits on there, including invitations to our monthly Patreon-only games. So we'd love to go ahead and see you there too. But as always, please like, subscribe, make sure you hit the notification bell, and we'll talk to you next time.